They are the Nighty Knights who say, "Neh." Not the Golden Knights who say, "Neh." The same. And they are not doing well. Hello, welcome to Stanley Does Hockey. And here's another team that's not doing well. Marc-Andre Fleury fans were probably very sad at the moment. So I'm just going to try and dissect very quickly what I think is going wrong for the Vegas Golden Knights. The most recent example being their 7-2 loss to Calgary. Now, the main thing that went wrong was they went 5-0 down in the first period, which is the equivalent in football, or to American soccer, of going 5-0 down after half an hour, or being, 5 touchdowns down in the first quarter. Either way, it is not really acceptable in any sport to be that far behind that early on. It gives you a mountain to climb, it wrecks morale, and also it happened to be against one of the divisional rivals. So, it's the equivalent of Spurs being 5-0 down away to Arsenal. You don't do it, it's not going to go down well with the fans, and it leaves you, looking rather weak to the rest of the division. And it's a shame, because obviously last year, the Golden Knights not only finished very well in the Pacific Division, got to the playoffs, they then beat the Los Angeles Kings, they then beat the San Jose Sharks, so they were the best in the Pacific Division. They then beat the Winnipeg Jets, and they got to the Stanley Cup final. True, they did lose to the Washington Capitals in the end, but they got to the Stanley Cup final, which is incredible for a franchise team. Unfortunately, and this is where I think it's really gone wrong for them, the Golden Knights are suffering from what I would essentially call second season syndrome. Happens a lot. Basically, when you first come in your first season to any new league, you're a bit of a surprise. No one really knows what to make of you. Maybe people write you off already, just expect that they can, all they have to do is turn up, and you easily get wins because you've got the surprise factor. Second season, you don't have that anymore. People know what you're about. And in the case of the Golden Knights, they definitely know what that's about because everyone saw their run to the Stanley Cup final. So whilst most teams were sort of licking their wounds after the regular season, they also had plenty of time to study the Golden Knights and see their strengths and also their weaknesses. And the main strength and also kind of the weakness is Marc-Andre Fleury. Very good goaltender. I may actually have a picture for him for those who do not know who Marc-Andre Fleury is. He's not a dog. That's Marc-Andre Fleury, but he's worth a Google. This is Marc-Andre Fleury. Guy with the helmet. Guy making ridiculously good saves. That's against the Winnipeg Jets. And there's a really good picture of him. There you go. All padded up and looking fantastic. He made some outrageous saves against numerous opponents, but particularly in the playoffs against the Kings, the Sharks, and the Jets. And even against the Capitals, he still had a pretty good go, but was eventually overwhelmed. But this is what happens when you are over-reliant on a particular person. Because once that person either dips in form or isn't available, then the glaring gaps in your defense and just general team sort of work ethic become very obvious. Subban, the alternative goalkeeper to the Golden Knights, was in goal last couple of days ago against the Calgary Flames. Just going to confirm his name because I feel he should not be confused with PK Subban, who is a defenseman for the Nashville Predators. It's Malcolm Subban. Malcolm Subban let in 5 goals in the first period. It was not his fault. It is not that he is a very bad goalkeeper or that he's, one of the worst in the division. He's just not Marc-Andre Fleury. He doesn't quite have the status, and he certainly doesn't sort of have the sort of command necessarily of his goal that might make people think, oh, I don't know if I can beat him. But more to the point, the Knights don't quite have the same players that they had last season either. There are ones that have moved on, people like James Neal, and unfortunately James Neal was quite good on Tuesday night against Monday night against the Golden Knights, possibly because, he would have known how they were set up, how they played, but also because these things go in cycles. The Calgary Flames themselves had a very disappointing season last year, were expected to make the playoffs, didn't. Now they're looking a lot healthier, and as it stands, they are second in the Pacific Division with 12 wins, 8 losses, and 1 overtime loss. So only the San Jose Sharks are ahead of them, and actually, if Calgary were to win their game in hand on the Sharks, they would top the Pacific Division. Admittedly, at quite an early stage, but still, it's about a quarter of the season in, so I think it's safe to say that, the reason why the Knights didn't do very well against Calgary Flames is the Calgary Flames have kicked on and a lot better. And we're also probably enjoying their win over the Edmonton Oilers a few days before that. I think the other thing that might not be helping is actually the situation in California, which will affect the Knights because, there's 3 teams in California, and California has not had a particularly good year. It's had a horrendous summer with wildfires sort of devastating the region, spreading far beyond their usual parameters. And I think that affects, if you've got 3 rivals who sort of are having to deal with a statewide emergency, that is going to have a sort of knock-on effect to the rest of the division because San Jose Sharks, Los Angeles Kings, and the Anaheim Ducks, they're all in California. So if they sort of have issues, you can probably bet that those issues are going to affect Vegas because Nevada borders California. So there is that to consider. And it's not as if the Vegas Knights are even the worst team in the Pacific Division at the moment. They nearly are, but they're not quite, because even worse than them are the Los Angeles Kings, who did actually win 2 Stanley Cups this decade. So, recent history would suggest Los Angeles Kings are to be feared, but not when they've only won 7 and they've lost 12 and they only have 15 points. And they've already fired 1 coach and they're on to a second one. I don't think the Vegas Golden Knights are going to do that. They're still a very new team, and I think it was kind of expected that they weren't going to do as well as last season, but I think they definitely need to start kicking on because there's teams already above them who have games in hand, so what they must not do is get cut adrift. And I think the match they've got on tonight against the Arizona Coyotes, who are actually doing pretty good, considering how the Coyotes normally end up. I think the Coyotes have been pretty good. Their attack has definitely improved, or offense, as you might like to call it. So I think this one is quite pivotal. I think if Vegas win this one and win this one convincingly, then they can sort of start to get back in amongst the chasing pack. But if they were to lose to the Coyotes, then that definitely leaves them looking in difficulty, so to speak. And what they definitely cannot do is let in 5 goals in the first opening period. But I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. Moving briefly on, and I'm just going to conclude because I'm going to try and keep this within 10 minutes. The Penguins have a rather crucial match themselves. They are up against the Dallas Stars at home in a game that I think I can watch live because it's free on my app. Yes, it is. Free game. Woo! And they need to win that. Because if you think Vegas are having a bad year, well, they are, but it's not really like Pittsburgh can claim to be having much of a better year. True, they have 3 games in hand on the Knights, but they're still a point behind, and they are bottom of the Eastern Conference. Not, just outside the wildcard places, not, in amongst the pack. They are bottom. They are worse than the New Jersey Devils, the Florida Panthers, and the Detroit Red Wings. All teams who have not exactly been in fantastic form themselves, but all doing better at the moment than the Pittsburgh Penguins. And the Dallas Stars, as if to show how weak the Pacific Division is compared to the Central Division, which is the other division, second part of the Western Conference, the Dallas Stars have got 24 points and hold one of the wildcard slots for the Western Conference side of the playoffs, which means at the moment that there are 5 teams from the Central Division, but only 3 teams in the Pacific Division. So it's not as if the Pittsburgh Penguins have actually got sort of an easy sort of side to, maybe get a win against. This is going to be tricky, and they really need to win, because I think if they lose this one as well, well, I'm not saying anyone's going to get fired, but I think, there are going to be serious concerns already a quarter of the season in. Are the Penguins going to miss out the playoffs, which would be almost unthinkable, but it could happen. And lastly, just to sort of highlight my whole Lightning affiliation, I'm hoping that we are going to win our divisional contest against the Panthers, but This is hockey and anything can happen. I've been a British person. Tune in next time.